Hello dudes, Axel here. Welcome to another Linuxy video. So, this is being recorded immediately after the previous video where I went over where I've been for the past many months and where things are going forward. And I started going over at the end of that like, okay, so I'm going to talk about what I'm running right now. Oh, also, this is what I was running and there were things that happened. Never actually got into what I'm running currently, because that video was running a little long. I say when it was like just over 10 minutes. You know, some people are going to be like, oh, he went just over 10 minutes for the views and stuff. My channel's not even monetized anymore. So that's a moot point. Anyway, as for what I'm running right now, I did mention it before, I am running Solus once again. So, let me go ahead and switch this over to my desktop view. For those of you who may or may not remember, those are my notes for this stuff. Go away. We don't need you anymore. I forgot to close that. Oh, that's my videos folder. Oh, God. Not that there was anything sensitive in there. I also, actually, okay, I'm going to get back to that in a second. I have a small rant I want to do, which might not even be fully, relevant, but no, it's relevant. Okay, so I'm going to get into that later. All right, so anyway, I'm running Solus again. For those of you who may or may not remember, in the last video I did talking about distro stuff, I'm pretty sure the title was something like Back on Ubuntu, and then some other stuff with Ryzen maybe? Ryzen build update? Yes, that was it. So, I was back on Ubuntu because I got myself a Blackmagic Intensity Pro 4K because my Magewell USB capture device was having issues, which honestly I might be able to solve through alternate means anyway, but I still need to figure that all out. So I'll get more into that in a moment. So right, we are on my desktop right now. I'll get back to that in just a second. So I switched back to Solus because I missed running it, because Solus is amazing, and for reasons I mentioned earlier as well. Like, yes, there is something to be said about sticking with stable versions of software that just work, but with the release model that Solus has, it's like, you know, it's a curated rolling release. So they have like the weekly Friday syncs, although there was updates sent out today, and it's not Friday. So I don't know about that one. Usually it's weekly, usually it's Friday. I guess it does vary sometimes. But anyway, it's like the updates are sent out when things are tested to be stable, which I guess technically even on some Arch-based distros that might be the case. I don't know. I don't run anything Arch-based, so it might not just be Solus that keeps things stable like that despite being rolling. But I know with how Solus is, like, they don't do release snapshots or anything. They work towards their next release while keeping things updated in the meantime, which is really cool. And it wouldn't get me to switch back to it, but I would like to see Ubuntu adopt that sort of model, because that's just a really cool way to do it. Although, I know another thing that the Solus team does, I was reading one of their posts about like more of the technical side of how Solus works. They have specific tools to make it possible to keep things rolling. So like certain things that for a regular distribution would require a new release to update for all users, they have it to where you can just run the update, reboot your system, and then you're up to date with how things now work. So that's really cool that they have it like that. And yeah, Solus is just awesome. I've gone about why I like Solus before. I don't want to repeat too much of what I said, because that's what a lot of it's going to be if I go into that more here. So that being said, I'll go ahead and switch back over to my desktop here. Yeah, I'm on the latest version. Well, okay, well, actually, no, I'm not on the very latest, because like I said, there were some updates today that came in right before I was going to do this. So I'm on the second latest version, I guess. I'll be on the latest version here soon anyway, but yeah, whenever I've run Solus, keeping everything fully up to date, I've never run into a major, like, system-breaking problem, ever. So it's been fantastic. Okay, There actually, quick amendment to that. I don't want to be a liar, because when briefly before when excuse me back when they released the plasma testing ISO for patrons or whatever, and I was trying that with my NVIDIA card and OBS and stuff. For some reason, opening OBS would like break Xorg or something. That's the only time I've had an issue, but that was also with a not fully finished thing, so I don't count that really, but I think it is worth mentioning just so people don't like fact check me and be like, what about when this happened? You talked about it in that video. There. It's mentioned, but that wasn't a final product, so doesn't count. Anyway, yeah, even keeping things fully up to date with Solus, I've never had any serious system breaking issues with stable released stuff. There we go. So, other than that, I was also talking a bit about what I was running before I went back to Solus here. So, following the Back on Ubuntu video, I think, yeah, at the time that was 1710, I did also do a clean install to 1804 after the fact, because it just seemed like a good idea at the time. So I did that, and 1804 was actually pretty nice. You know, it wasn't bad. Was not bad. Pretty good for an Ubuntu release. The welcome screen was a nice addition. Of course, snaps and whatever worked just fine. It was also easy to get Flatpak support enabled into the software center, so that was pretty cool. One thing I noticed, speaking of that, to actually find snaps to install if they're not on like the featured section of GNOME software, you have to search for them. You can't just like browse for them through the categories. You have to run a search for the snap to come up. Flatpaks will show up anyway, and they will also show as Flatpaks. So that was kind of interesting. But yeah, like with Ubuntu, I can see why people, like, especially like in an enterprise environment, for example, I can see why people would want to be on a stable base with not massively changing versions of software and whatnot. So for like the enterprise and especially server related stuff, yeah, like fixed release, long-term support type stuff, I can see that making more sense. But for the desktop, the Solus release model, in my opinion, is like the best thing ever. I love it so much. Wait, whoops, I was already on the right one. Okay, like the Solus release model is just so nice. I guess I should probably also mention by default, like this is obviously tweaked from the default themes. By default, Solus does ship with the Adapta theme and Papyrus icons, and which, okay, funny story with that. Before they started doing that by default, they used Arc, and around that time, I was switching things over to Adapta and Papyrus when I tweaked things. Now that they're actually using Adapta and Papyrus by default, oh, I'm tweaking things from that again. Man. Next thing you know, they'll switch to this by default. They probably won't. I'm sure they'll stick with Adapta and Papyrus, because that is a fantastic combination. Adapta GTK theme with Papyrus icons. That is a very nice combination. I just can never leave things not tweaked. It's that curse. I'm sure many of you know it well. Anyway, so yeah, I was running Ubuntu 18.04 for a while, and that was all well and good. No serious problems, which is boring. Not that I want to have problems with my system, but it's, you know, it worked fine, and I could have been happy staying with it, relatively. But I don't know, I kind of felt like trying other things, and with the upcoming release of Elementary OS Juno, I was like, you know what, let's give a solid try to the current release of Elementary once again, even though I've never lasted on it for more than a few weeks. Spoilers, I didn't last on it for more than a few weeks again. But, yeah, like, it's not that it was bad or anything. It wasn't. It's just, again, that release of Elementary, the currently released one, is still on the 16.04 Ubuntu base, whereas Juno's going to be on 18.04. But then you run into that problem again, where you're sticking with... Okay, you know what? The more I'm thinking about this, the more I'm realizing another reason to really like Solus. So, with those fixed releases, like, not only regular software packages, but, like, like just desktop features as well, and possibly fixes to things. With how Elementary does it, they do have like a fairly slow release cycle. Like, it's not like there's never updates, but a lot of the major updates are going to be saved for that next major release. With how Solus does it, I'm sure there are still some things they're saving for the Solus 4 release, but you still get like a lot of upgrades in between the major releases anyway. And it's like with a fixed release, like, you can also upgrade those, but sometimes that can mess things up and it can be better to do a fresh install. Not the case with how Solus works. And like I mentioned earlier, having access to a lot of up-to-date software in the native repository is just very, very nice. And plus with Solus, you have fantastic support for snaps, and then of course Flatpaks and app images are also always available, so anything that's not in the Solus repositories, usually you're not, like, so for my use cases, I have never had to build anything from source except for one package, but it's a very niche package, so I'm not even going to go into that. But it's a program called WIT, W-I-T. But like that's super niche, so I get why it's not included. But yeah, that's like the only thing that I have not, that is like not a Flatpak or a snap or something like that, that is also not in the Solus repos that I've had to like install myself, but like that it's super easy to install anyway. Other than that, everything that I've needed has been available either in the native repos or as a snap or Flatpak. So yeah, like people who complain about the Solus repositories not having as much software as like the big distros, like, what are you really missing that you really need? Now, I'm saying that from the point of view of a regular user, but yeah, I don't know, like I wouldn't know from like more of the developer side of things, for example, or I guess other production related desktop uses like CAD, I guess. I don't know, do people use Solus for CAD? Maybe they could in the future, who knows. I'm getting way off topic here. You know what? Okay. For those of you who are new to the channel, expect things to get very rambly. Maybe I should just put like a rambling disclaimer at the beginning of every video that goes over 10 minutes. Well, significantly over 10 minutes. The last one was like only briefly over 10 minutes. But yeah, anything that goes significantly over 10 minutes, like probably closer to 20 actually, I'll just put like a warning, this video contains a lot of rambling at the beginning or something. And people will probably still not care that there was that warning in the first place. Okay, well, where were we? What was I talking about? So I was running Elementary. And then, like, so why I was running Elementary, I like their philosophy of having a lot of native Linux applications. And a lot of what they do have through App Center is actually pretty nice. But a lot of what they do have, there are also other alternatives. And while I agree in that I would prefer to use a natively written Linux application, I don't hate Electron because it means we have applications that we would not have otherwise. But I do agree that a natively built application would still be better. But I cannot live without Etcher. So, yeah. Anyway, we've been sitting on my desktop for long enough. I should probably actually show you more stuff. So, yeah, I love the Materia theme. And the La Capitaine icons. I'm probably saying that wrong, which is sad because I took a French class before. Wait, is that French or Spanish? Hold on. It's like La. Isn't Spanish stuff like usually L? Or is La still for like feminine words, like with how French is with le and la? That's totally off topic again, but you know what? This is never on topic. The topic is whatever I happen to be talking about in this video. So I can never be off topic as long as it's my own video. I win. No, I don't. What was I talking about? Right. So yeah, Materia theme is great. Like Happy 10 icons, kind of more trying them than being set on them. I've used them before a lot, and they are pretty nice. They're very nice. So, with Papyrus icons, like, in general, I do like the Papyrus icons. It's just, I don't know, I don't like the folders that much. But hey, that's the great thing about Linux, is you can just, you know, alter stuff. That's another thing with Solus. In a lot of, okay, well, I shouldn't say a lot of other distros. Most of the time with Ubuntu-based stuff, a lot of themes don't usually seem to be, like, in the native repositories for Ubuntu. But, like, Solus does have many themes to choose from right within the Solus repositories. Whereas with Ubuntu, a lot of times you have to add, like, a PPA or something. Not the case with Solus. Very nice. No need to worry about PPAs or any crap like that. Anyway, yeah, I got Materia theme with Like Happy 10 icons. GNOME desktop, of course. That was probably obvious from the onset, but yeah, I thought about doing Budgie, but I cannot live without this sort of thing, like having the window spread and whatnot. Speaking of that, I need to address something that was said at least a few times in my Why I Like GNOME video. Like with this thing, it's like, dude, you have this in other desktops like Cinnamon and KDE and stuff. Yes, there is they do have a similar feature, extremely similar feature. But usually how it is, there is both a window spread and then like a workspace view thing. Let's start with KDE for that example. I don't actually fully remember how Cinnamon does it. That might actually be better with it. But with KDE, you have window spread, and then you have view of all your workspaces at once. With the window spread, it works fine and it spreads things out. Like one thing I mentioned was like the layout not being great, which Elementary is another example of not doing it great. With GNOME here, if I just open that up, like, okay, that one went down here, so that's a little odd, but like this is a bigger window, so that makes sense. The layout makes more sense as to where things were before I opened the activities overview, whereas like with Elementary, something that's like on this side of the screen could wind up way down here or in some other random location. And if I just do the window spread thing, not the whole here's all your workspaces thing, I can't move windows between the workspaces. Not to mention, with most of them, it's not at the press of a single key. Now that's a very first world problem, I guess. Like, oh no, I have to hit multiple keys. But like the thing with GNOME is it's all just super key. Look at everything I can do now that I'm in the activities overview. In fact, not even just super key. Oh, top left hot corner. Look at everything I can do from within this hot corner, or from within the activities overview. I can move windows around. I can move them to different workspaces. I can also just click that for these same things. So like, it's not just about the feature itself, but like how... Okay, I mean, it is about the feature itself. Like, it's not just about like whether a desktop has it or not. It's just like how it works in that desktop. And the way GNOME does it is what I like best compared to other desktops that do similar things. So, yeah, there's still probably people that are going to disagree with me. Like, you're just lazy. Oh no, you have to hit like multiple keys to do that. You know what? By default on Plasma, you had to do like Control F9 or some crap like that. Like, why? Why is that even a thing? I don't even dislike Plasma. I like the Plasma desktop, but that is one of the stupidest defaults. Speaking of weird defaults, okay, there was another thing I was going to rant about. So, okay, yeah, this video is super rambly, guys. I'm sorry, but I have a lot that I feel like just talking about, so bear with me. Or you're probably gone by now. Either way, that's fair. Hope you enjoyed what you did watch, even though you wouldn't hear me say that if it did. Okay, so most desktops that are not KDE, okay, that's not entirely, okay, what I was going to say is usually, by default, let me actually open up the Nautilus settings here real quick. So with preferences, if you look at, where was it? Search and preview. Okay, not so on Solus, but like usually when you're running the GNOME desktop, the show thumbnails, whatever, for smiles smaller than a certain size, it's usually set to like 10 megabytes, first of all. which I guess you could say is to maybe have better performance and weaker computers. I don't know. But the max that this lets it go is like 4 gigabytes. So what if I have something bigger than that? Do I have anything bigger than that? That's 1.6. Because that's what's being recorded right now. Good job, Brain. That one's 2.8. Okay. Well, okay, either way, usually, first of all, you have to actually set that. Second is like, even if you do set that, where was I going with this? Because that kind of just answered that question there. You set that to be a higher number and you get thumbnails. Why was I going to rant about that? We're just going to backpedal off of that rant now. Because I was going to say, I had to go and install this FFmpeg Thumbnailer thing. It's like, no. No, I just had to set the thumbnail thing up higher than it was. Why did I forget that was a thing? Actually, wait a minute. No, return to rant. Okay. If that was already set like that in the first place, I did not have thumbnails for these videos before until I installed a thing called FFmpeg Thumbnailer. Why was that not there by default? Is that what was giving the size option thing there? I don't know, actually. I don't know. Either way, my point being is usually when I'm running a GNOME-based desktop or whatever, you either have to change that yourself to get previews on your videos, and like, if it's a video, chances are it's going to be bigger than 10 megabytes, right? So, I don't know, it seems like by default that should be a higher number, which it seems like it is on Solus here, unless that was with the FFmpeg Thumbnailer package, which I don't even know if I needed that. Yeah, okay, that was me forgetting how Nautilus works a little bit. Right, browser. Let's go into that before I continue making an ass of myself, which is going to happen anyway. So, trying out the Brave browser, and like, God, I want to like it because there's so many nice things about it, but it seems like whenever I do, I run into some stupid issue. So, first of all, let me go to preferences here. First of all, for some reason, I can't get sync to be enabled. Like, if I try to do enable sync, I'll just give it the same name that my computer has over there. That, set up sync. Nothing. This used to work just fine, but right now, nothing. It doesn't do anything. It just sits there. That used to work just fine. Used to work perfectly fine. Another thing, opening links in Brave. For some reason, that only works when the browser is not already open. I don't know why, but like if I already have it open, I cannot open a link here in Brave. Like, it just doesn't work. Let me demonstrate, actually. That would be a little easier. Let's bring you over here, which I'm also going to get to feed reader here in a second as well. But like, okay, let's try to open this in Brave. Clicky the link. It brings up Brave. Just sits there. I don't know why, but it does that. So the stupid thing about it doing that is, let's go back to when I was running Ubuntu, for example. It would do that as well with like the Snap version. I don't know if it was exactly the same. I think it might have been, though. I never really tried closing it first, then opening a link. But like, it would bring the browser into focus, but not actually open anything in it. That was with the Snap version running on Ubuntu, for example. The, it wasn't a PPA, it was just like the Brave repo hooked up to Ubuntu. That version, that would open links just fine. So, I don't know what the problem is with that, but it's just so dumb. Like, I want to like Brave because it has a lot of things to like about it, but just stupid little things like that that keep cropping up make me always go back to something like Firefox. I'm bearing with it for now, but yeah, it's just dumb. It's just very dumb. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to go into was feed reader here. So I first tried this out on Elementary when I was running that for a few weeks, and through that, it was through a Flatpak. And I don't know what it was with that compared to running it on Solus here, but through the Flatpak on Elementary, like, the performance was just terrible. And it seemed like it didn't want to sync things properly half the time. But running it here on Solus has been, like, flawless in comparison. So, I don't know, man. Linux is weird. That's what this comes down to. Linux is freaking weird. But yeah, this kind of also goes back into my I'm a millennial, so I like flashy things argument from earlier. Or from the last video, I guess. God. Millennials. Anyway, yeah, feed reader looks very nice. And on Solus, it's working very well. I don't know what was wrong with the Flatpak on Elementary. Why does that say local host? Is that supposed to be Horst? Okay, I'm getting distracted, but yeah, it's very nice. I used to use Liferia before this. Liferia is very nice as well, but as I said, I'm a millennial. I like new looking stuff, and FeedReader both looks nice, and on Solus here it functions well as well. So, yeah, +1 for FeedReader. Let's go back down here. Excuse me. Get back in your spot. Alright, I think that was about everything I had to ramble about. Well, no, I guess I can go into some other stuff. Let's talk about Mail Client. I was talking about Electron apps earlier. So, I think I had this set up to where you can't see email addresses, right? Yes. Okay. So, MailSpring here. It's a fork of Nihilus Mail, which Nihilus Mail, when I used that, kind of sucked a little. Like, it looked nice, but the functionality was kind of, I don't know, it didn't work properly half the time. MailSpring, on the other hand, this is a fork of that, and it works fantastically. And this is also an Electron app, and I didn't even realize it was an Electron app. But you know what? It runs very well, and it uses, I can't remember if it was C or C++, but they switched to that from like a JavaScript backend thing. So it works well, and it performs very well despite being an Electron app is what I'm trying to say. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, I think I've rambled on long enough. That is the current state of the desktop. So if any of you guys stuck around to the end of this video, what's wrong with you? I mean, thank you. Thank you for listening to my rambling for so long. It's been quite a while. Hopefully I get back into the regular swing of things. But until next time, this has been Axel. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys in the next one.